is going to be additions and deletions to the agenda today. Does anybody have anything they want to add or take off from the meeting?
No.
Okay. Approval of minutes from last committee meeting.
A motion
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
I'll
I
second.
second.
And then we have Krause's waiver review to go over. Has everyone got a chance to look at his waiver request? Yeah, pretty standard appropriate request with parental leave. Looks like he's going to be missing, I believe, 6 sessions, 3 tracking, 3 detection. So are we all in favor of approving the waiver?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So moving forward, Rich, we probably should talk, and Chris, we should probably talk about what he should have to do to get caught up.
So I don't have a copy of that waiver, so I haven't seen exactly what it is. I understand it's for FMLA, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, one of the things in order for me to approve that final waiver would just be to have the understanding of what is the plan of action to remedy that time that he'll be missing. So, and that may be included on there. I just don't have it.
No, I
Yeah.
don't think it's not included in a waiver. I spoke with Rich. Rich, do you want to chime in on what did you have a time to think about what you really want to do?
Yeah, so I wanted to throw it by all you guys. So like FMLA, I mean, if it's short term, 2 months, 3 months, I don't think it's too unreasonable. Just they can make that up. I don't care. They make it up with me, an instructor. You guys decide on that. It's the long term ones that we really need to discuss. The deployments, injury, they're out for a year. I think it's unreasonable to have them come back and do every single day, especially if they're performing after a month's worth, after a couple of days of training, they really fall apart. I think it's a waste of everybody's time. So I'm just looking for everybody's opinion on what they think the long-term ones should be. I'm okay with the short term if we just say he makes up a couple months.
Okay, so we'll go back to Krause's for now. So Chris, you mind me calling you Chris or Raquel or?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay, Chris, for Richard Krause, New Hampshire fishing game, with missing 6 sessions, we're gonna want to get those 3 sessions of tracking in ASAP due to the tracking research in June. So we'll probably focus on those 3 tracking days because he's going to be back in, I believe, May 1st. So Warden Krause would be making up those 3 tracking days in May to include, it'll be 4 to include the May date as well, his in-service date for that. So he'll probably be doing 4 tracking days in May, and then we'll make up these detection in-service trainings. Rich, do you want those made up ASAP or just prior to the certifications or recertifications for detection school?
My initial opinion would be just prior to his next recert. So
Okay.
yeah, if we banged out those 3 tracking ones before the May or June recert, that'd be good. And then come back and do the drug ones.
Okay. So I will reach out to James, head trainer with New Hampshire Fishing Game, and just advise that the committee agrees to the waiver and that he will be making it up prior to the tracking, at least prior to the June recert date for tracking. That sound good to everyone?
Yeah.
Okay. To go back to Rich's thought on long-term waiver request. So I'm going to have a guy possibly getting deployed in 2026. I'm thinking for a year. And I think it would be unreasonable for him to do. So he would be missing 12 months, 24 sessions for a dual purpose dog. Rich, what do you think about like a week, like a 5-day thing, and then gets signed off by the head trainer?
Yeah, I'm good with that. I don't think we have it, it's just, we don't have it listed in the standards right now, what to do, so. I mean, I think 5 days I'd feel comfortable with and then assess it at that point, see if we need to go longer.
I think it should be a standard, maybe like have the head trainer sign him off at the end of this waiver process. Not just have him complete in-service hours with the in-service instructor, but have the actual head trainer evaluate at the end of the 5 days and have it signed off by the head trainer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Does
Okay.
it make sense to already set up parameters of 5 days and have it signed off by the head trainer? Like, would it make more sense to, once the deployment is done, to have the head trainer do an assessment of the skills or lack thereof to understand what that person might need, and then make a recommendation by the head trainer that would fulfill what they see as the, lack of skills? Again, I'm not the canine person at all, but I just thinking of setting up a process automatically of 5 days, which might be problematic for somebody, or they may have gotten right back, into training once they were back home. Does it make sense to have a head trainer actually do an assessment first to find out what you do need?
Yeah, I agree with that, to have them go to the academy on their first day back and have head trainer take a look, evaluate, and then have an assessment. The older the dog gets, the more likely I think they're to come back and remember those disciplines, and it might not be an issue at all. However, if you have a guy that deploys or goes on long-term disability right after getting a dog certified, it might be a more difficult process.
So if we're talking about doing something with the standards for this, I think there's something along the lines of the evaluators as well. I know there's something on evaluators for like a dog that's been running into issues to be reassessed. So instead of having the head trainer make that ultimate decision, because I don't know who my replacement is, I don't want to get in a bind. Maybe we have the evaluator group with the head trainer or something, some sort of combination, so there's more than one person that signs off on it.
I mean, could you say the head trainer or designee or designees?
I'm just, I'm trying not to say anything bad about anybody in the past, but I don't want somebody to come in and just say, yep, you're good to go. That's what I'm trying to stay away from.
I mean, they're gonna have to, if they're gone 12 months, they're gonna have to do a recertification when they come back too. So,
Yeah,
Well, this is, again, it's not something that has to be decided upon today, but maybe for this committee, just like another review of what the standards say, and think about what options you have as a committee, like what makes sense, right? Because what I'm hearing Scott saying is, yeah, if you're gone for a year, you're gonna have to come back and recertify anyway. So prior to recertification, someone, or whatever that process looks like, to do an evaluation of the person that has been on leave, and then coming back to make an estimate of what skills or lack thereof are now, not in this canine team, and what are they going to need to get back up to speed in order to pass their certification. And I'm not trying to put stuff off later, but rather than trying to come up with an idea now and then say, yep, that's what we're going to do, like, why not just take the time to really evaluate what does the standard say now, and how can we work within those standards? And if there's something there that doesn't address the way that you want to do it, let's reevaluate that and see if we're going to make an additional change to upcoming standards and what makes sense.
yeah. So something like if they come back, you could put your days on them, Dustin, like you were talking, like 5 days with the head trainer, but then be evaluated by the evaluators. So the head trainer's not really signing off on them. He's just
Mhm.
bringing them back to speed. Something like that, I'd be happy
Yeah.
with.
Okay.
Rich, why don't you just have an evaluator with you when you're doing your evaluation? And that way you
Well-
have two sets of eyes.
Well, if we're gonna do it for like 5 days to get an evaluator to come spend 5 days, I don't know how the PDs are gonna take that.
I thought Chris was just saying you don't have to do the full 5 days if you're just gonna do an evaluation. that one day or whatever, 2 days, whatever it's going to be, where you're just kind of gauging things. Just have one of us evaluators be there, so you have someone else to discuss it with.
Yeah, let's
I mean-
bounce it
I mean,
around. We don't have to
Ultimately,
decide
it's going to
today.
be your decision, but I mean, I think two sets of eyes are better than one,
Yeah, no,
especially
I
if
agree
somebody's been
with
out
you.
for a year.
I agree.
To go back, do we want to define short-term, long-term waivers? Do we want to put definition to what a short term is?
Yeah.
Anything less than 6 months or
I think less than 6 months. I mean, a lot of injuries we get on the job, within 6 months, you're back on the road. So, I mean, I think that's a fair, and within 6 months, you can make up training days and get back on track.
yeah, so
So
essentially, yep, go ahead.
if you'd miss 6 months, you'd have to do 6 months worth of training. If you miss 1 year, you only have to do 5 days of training. So just have that in mind. Like equality, is that the word? Equity,
What do you,
equity. I don't know.
So let's discuss this in the time that we had together moving forward. So short term, anything less than 6 months. So we're talking like once they get to this 6 month mark, then we'll go through this other process that we can discuss at a later date, Rich, and maybe discuss that with the evaluator training and in-service instruction training. But anything less than that right now, so just so like Kraus can get through, and then I actually have to submit a waiver for Cody Jackman. He was going to come back periodically and just train Canine while he was on parental leave, but he decided to actually just take this time, the next 2 or 3 months off, and enjoy this time. So that Chris can sign off on this. Anything less than 6 months, we're just going to make up whatever in-service days they missed, and we'll consider that a short-term waiver request under 6 months.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
That work?
I think so. In my head, I'm thinking, and I'm looking at Lindsay, don't I have the authority just up to 60 days to grant a waiver up to 60 days? So 6 months would be outside of my realm.
So part of this may be, if it's a request coming from the committee or approval coming from the committee.
I can use my magical mystical powers to approve something that they're asking of me. Is that what you're saying, suggesting?
Well, I think what I'm saying is that the committee would have to submit the approval and it wouldn't have anything to do with you, but that wouldn't really make much sense. So technically 60 days is what you have. So you can approve for up to 60 days. Anything beyond that would have to go to the committee for further approval.
So just to have it to be consistent with the rest of the council rules, this would be, I know, additional work, but if you could just submit a waiver, I can grant that waiver for up to 60 days. And then at the end of that 60 days, it would just have to be a renewal of another waiver until they got to that point. I don't disagree with what you're saying, anything less than 6 months. But I only have the authority by council rule to grant a waiver for up to 60 days. So as long as you submit a waiver, I approve it. And then within 60 days, there's another waiver submitted. I can continually approve it until you get to that period of time you need.
Okay. And then in a sense for your approval status on this current one and soon to be a second one, you need an action plan
Yeah.
in that as well. Okay. So, but we're agreeing to just making up those, since they are going to be 60-day ones for you, that they are going to make up those in-service days.
Okay.
Are we all good with that? We can move forward. Okay. The next topic is September Detection School. Rich, would you like to discuss this?
No, we're doing a detection school. New Hampshire wants to do, HRD cadaver. That'll be the first one done here. I'm for it. It's a little different than regular detection because it's gonna be basically a ton of area searching, so. See how this one goes, and then it might be something in the future to have its own separate thing. But we could discuss that later because I don't think that's gonna need as many hours or anything like that. It's not tracking, it'd be search and rescue area search, so the dogs can pick that up in a week or so. But they want a certification in it, so we'll do it this one. So we started patrol school today. Bennington, so he'll be going to detection school. And there might be some more interest, so it might be a packed detection school, so we'll see as time goes on.
Is that Morowski?
Yeah.
Are you going to try and keep the standard the same on, even though this is a new discipline that you're instructing with human remains? Are you keeping the standard with that discipline with any other odor detection, the same time frame? You said it's going to be faster, but
I think this year, just because by the time we have standards approved and everything, I think he could just go through to school, that's fine, and he'll get the hours. I think it's 240.
Yeah.
So we can get him through that school, but I think for this program, should be looking at that down the road a little. Maybe that should be a standalone certification. If somebody wanted to just do a search and rescue dog that finds live finds and dead people, I mean, I think we could train that up quick. Because like detection school, it doesn't need necessarily cars and buildings and stuff like that. So we can make it work. But I think the best outcome will be something separate down the road. It might even make more sense to have that go through during patrol school when we're doing area search and if we do scout with the patrol dogs. But I mean, I'll make this one work and he'll get certified for it, but it'd be a discussion for you guys down the road, I think.
all right. In-service instructor reminders.
Yeah, so I'm waiting to see, we were discussing, Dustin and I, about, Lindsay brought it up with me. It's, we have like 5 days total if you're an instructor, 3 for patrol, 2 for detection. And I started talking with Dustin about it then, and we came up with basically it'll just be 2 days if you're a patrol instructor, 2 days if you're a detection instructor. I haven't put anything out to the instructors yet. I figure let's hammer this down first, and then I could put something out tonight or tomorrow if we agree on it. But that would be a standard change as well. So it'll just be whatever discipline you do. If you want to be an instructor, you have 2 days. So just so everybody's aware, the original intent behind that was 5 days for each. And the intent was to basically have them come and teach a week of basic school, right? So that way they're always current with the new stuff. So they can use the head trainer's curriculum or whatever, but they're involved. I get it. PDs aren't going to be, especially if you're multi-purpose, send you down here for 10 days. I get it. So I'm good with settling on 2 days for each if everybody else is, and it would be a standard change, and then I'll put that out to the instructors if we agree.
And we're breaking that down to patrol and tracking.
So yeah, so
detection.
it'd be one of the 3. So you're a tracking instructor, a patrol instructor, or detection.
Okay.
Lindsay, is that does that work that way? Okay,
Yes, it would be per the major so patrol and detection, and then
And then tracking.
that
Okay.
equalizes.
and tracking, so.
Okay.
3.
Yep.
Yep, okay.
All right. Does anybody have any comments on that other than Rich and I? You guys good with that?
I mean, can you roll the tracking into the patrol?
Well, I
No,
would, yeah, go ahead, Rich.
I don't want, no offense to Dustin, but he shouldn't be instructing aggression work. You know, that was the problem in the past. You were an instructor for everything.
Yeah.
So it's better to keep them separated. Same with
makes
the
sense.
evaluators. Okay.
Yeah, and they could be doing, aggression work and apprehension, building searches during that patrol discipline, and then seeing how that is also tracking. I mean, you would have your evaluator for tracking come down during the tracking portion. Just reach out to Rich and say, "Hey, are you doing tracking today?" Yes, I am. Then the evaluators can come down for that, or in-service instructors. So.
Just on the search standards, the way it reads, it's basically if you're single purpose, you're a certain number of days, and if you're multi-purpose, you're a certain number of days. So if you make it 2 per, then it's just, if you're multi-purpose, your maximum amount would be 4.
Yeah, if that's the simplest
makes
way
sense.
for you, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay. Research dates, and I believe it says tracking school.
Yeah, so I'm.
Research for tracking and patrol, sorry. Yep.
Yeah, I'm totally flexible on this. I don't care. Dustin, I'm sure you'll be down here when the wardens are here and everything. If somebody wants to come up with some dates, we used to do it like every Wednesday. I don't need that. I mean, really, we could bang it out in 1 week if we did it every day. I'd rather not do that. I don't care if you want to just pick 4 or 5 days, and I'll move the school around it. Morowski can help out. That'll be training for him as well. 1 day a week for 4 weeks would be good. And then I'm thinking May or June. That doesn't even really matter to me. I want to have an evaluators meeting prior, which will probably be in April. So they certified last year in June, so they're good for a year. So May or June works for me.
I'm gonna be
Rich,
gone
what do you
for
think
half
about
of
doing
May.
in May? Sorry, Jeremy.
What's that? I didn't hear it.
I was gonna say, what do you think about May, where it's maybe a little bit cooler for the tracking teams? Because I know in June that we smoked some dogs with the heat.
Yeah, no, I'm good with it.
Okay.
I'm flexible. Whatever we want, whatever you guys want. I mean, I'm here every day of the week, so it doesn't matter to me.
I will be gone for a week in May. I'll be out of the country.
What week?
That's the 3rd week of May.
Okay.
I'm pretty flexible after May 20th. So like the end of May, I'm good. If you want to get them started at the end of May and into June, maybe we could put out some dates and see what kind of evaluators are available. I think last year we did like Monday and Tuesdays. But yeah, let's communicate with the evaluators and just see if we could kind of cut the end of May into June and get those done when it's not
Okay.
80 degrees. And but I'm more available myself. I'm more available Thursdays and Fridays. I think Mark, you were available Monday and Tuesdays. Anything change with you, or you want to stick to Monday and Tuesdays? I can probably make it work.
It doesn't matter. I can be pretty flexible. The
Okay.
schedule I'm working allows me to be flexible.
Okay.
Whatever works for the group.
And then Scott, you said you are gone end of May into June or just May?
I think that's Jeremy.
Oh, sorry, Jeremy.
It's like it's the third week of May. I'll be away, but I'll be around in the beginning of May, and then I come back I think on the like 24th or 25th.
Eric, you're an evaluator, right? No. Okay.
Do you want to be?
If you would have me, I'd be honored, Rich.
Mhm.
Yeah, we'll just shoot the other evaluators. And Eric, if you're now evaluators, how does your PD work? Can you just come evaluate at the police academy a couple days during the week,
Yep.
or okay?
Yeah, I'm pretty flexible back here in detectives now, so that should work.
Okay. And are you tracking certified? Or are you the single purpose? Okay, so you're only
Single purpose
detection. Yeah.
drugs.
Okay. All right. But I mean, I guess it would be helpful to have somebody lay tracks too. So.
Yep.
All right. So we're gonna look at end of May to June, for those research for tracking, which includes the article detection search as well. The next on the agenda is the PT test. So I think we all agreed that running a PT test with your tracking dog and then doing a tracking cert right after, we were just smoking the dog. So we're gonna maybe change that up a bit. So it's just the handlers doing the PT test. There is a standard, I believe, at the end of the canine standards that suggest what the PT test should include, which is like, I don't have the standards pulled up right now, but like carrying and pulling and stuff like that, or running. Rich, do you have any suggestions on what you would like? Do you want to try and set something up?
So my thoughts we started working on this before. I don't, hold on. So on the standards, it doesn't really say anything except the canine committee to design and define the annual PT test, best fits our program. The elements of the test will include, but are not limited to running, carrying, climbing, and agility. So, what I used to do with state police for tryouts was basically an obstacle course. It would take 4 to 6 minutes, but it would have you breathing up, stuff like that. So it wasn't timed. I don't know if we time it. So there wasn't a pass fail. It was just basically an assessment to see if your heart was in it or not. We don't need to be doing the 1.5 miles because they come here for certs and we ruin all the woods for our tracking then. So, I mean, if somebody can come up with some sort of idea around the academy, carrying a heavy bag or something like that, like what the firemen might do. Chief
Yeah,
Dodge came up with something years ago, but we never pushed it any further. It was something to do with the firemen. So I'm good with something like that, obstacle course, maybe throw your heavy bag over a wall, you climb over the wall, pick it up again, a simulation of a dog, just stuff like that. But it doesn't have to kill everybody.
Does everybody know, do we still have the sleds down at the police academy? Like the push sleds, you can put weights on them. No,
I don't.
I'm that old.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that.
Okay. We used to back in the 93rd.
Dustin, I'm
yeah.
being told there are sleds in the gym.
Okay. My suggestion would be to maybe just do one lap around the facility like they do for the PT test on the run. Come into the gymnasium or even in the back parking lot, push a sled 100 yards, whatever it is, and then do something with sandbags where we're lifting and over a wall or something like that, like you would if you like with the incident I had with my canine when he was experienced heat stroke and he was just a limp body, carrying him around to the water into the river and then trying to get him back over to bank. That's kind of something we would want to recreate, I think. So if we could get a sandbag, lift over a wall, carry it up something, even a small hill, but something like a one lap, push the sled 100 yards or less, and then a sandbag carry or lift. I think the only thing we want to shy away from is we want to make sure we are preventing injuries from the handlers so that their PDs aren't losing an officer as well. But what do you guys think of something like that?
How much? So I'm thinking legal. Is there any concerns like?
No, because I'm just looking at your standards and it says that the VCJC will not require approval of this test to be administered. So it's really the realistic view of what you would be doing in the field. And I can't offer you legal guidance now because it's going to be a few months out before we have legal on staff. But if any of you through your own agencies wanted to say, what's your thought on this? And, is this like too much? Again, keeping in mind what you're saying, right? You don't want to push an officer to an injury while they're at training and then take them out of commission of being able to go back to work. So because it doesn't have to have approval of the VCJC, you might just start thinking about this in low level terms first, just so that you're doing something. And then once we have some legal counsel on board, then take a look at what's your ultimate type of a test that suits the needs of the canine community, and then run it by legal and see what they have to say.
I'd throw one thing in there when we do build it, like who's ever gonna be in charge of basically putting some sort of thing together? Should we make it so we can reproduce it somewhere else if need be? So, not to get too hung up on the academy if we need.
Okay.
What are you trying to say?
See ya. It's too expensive in gas coming over here every day. Scott, they don't pay for my gas anymore.
Jeez, they don't pay for mine either, so I'm screwed.
Well, that's weird. Oh, I'm not used to that.
You didn't tell me he was so cheap.
Did just out of curiosity, did anybody any handlers show up with a waiver for the PT test last year or weren't able to engage in a PT test or participate?
No,
Is it-
nobody did that I'm aware of. Mark?
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay. I just didn't know if that was a problem that was gonna arise. We'll come up with something. Again, we want to prevent from people being injured, like throwing it's a 60-pound sandbag or bag over a wall might injure somebody, but maybe a 25-pound bag won't. Something like that, even though dogs mostly weigh about 60 pounds, 50 pounds, something like that. So, if you have any suggestions, I guess just shoot Rich or I an email, and maybe there's another program out there that you guys in another state observed. We could try something. One of the last things for public comment, the follow-up from last committee meeting, I believe there was like 3 things maybe like that we're talking about, which was documents being stored at the VPA. Were those brought up? Make sure we get that done. Anybody have any input on that?
They'll be brought up in this school. I'll use the handlers.
Okay.
We'll take care of it. It's just boxes.
And then we were talking about a police chief being on the committee. Have we further looked into that?
You have not. That's on me. I've
Okay.
met with chiefs and sheriffs and completely neglected to bring that up during my meeting. So I'll get that out to them.
Okay. And I'm drawing a blank on the last one. Does anybody recall? Without me pulling up the email. Oh, it was
Association.
yeah, it was an association, or it was the in-service day we also needed to come up with that in-service day, I believe.
Yeah, so I talked to Emily for a little. She was gonna have, I think Wade LeBrecq reach out and have a meeting for Canine Association. That was probably 2 weeks ago. I haven't heard anything since. So basically my conversation with her, at first, it took a while to click, but because we've been so intertwined over the years, that the annual program here has been the association as well. And then some people serve on both boards. But she was saying there's like 43 members, so that's more than double the size of this program. So I don't know. I think we should have our own. We have 19 teams right now. Just have our own where we can sit down and just discuss VPA stuff. Especially this time going forward because a lot's changed right now. And like I said, the association never got back in touch with me. I told her I didn't want to hijack their meeting if they wanted to do an annual. And that's the last I heard. So I'm thinking of doing one here fairly soon, maybe in April, with the VPA handlers just to get them all on board. Like I want to discuss pack track so everybody's entering stuff the same way. Just little stuff with the changes to bring everybody a little more uniform. And it doesn't even have to be like a training day like in years past. I mean, we can make it a half day where it's just some classroom stuff, go over stuff, the standards changes, and then cut everybody loose.
Okay.
And I'm not pushing for that, so you guys all agree to it. Like, you guys tell me if you guys want to do that. Mark, you're on the Canine Association.
We haven't had like a full board meeting in quite some time, so I'm kind of been left out a little bit. So I don't know 100% what's going on with the association. I should certainly probably sit down with Wade and figure that out, and whoever else is on the board. But I don't think it's a bad idea to have a separate thing, especially this year, until we can kind of maybe regroup and figure that out.
Yeah, like I said, I talked to Emily and she was supposed to bring it up. I haven't heard back. She was going to try to find bylaws. I guess nobody's ever seen bylaws. Do you know where they are for the association?
Not a clue.
Right. So that's something that we wanted to kind of check out as well. Just make sure we're all on the same page. But yeah, I haven't heard back, so I'm not waiting around any longer. I figure we'll just go ahead and do an annual meeting because we do need to do one pretty soon for the handlers in this program.
Yeah, I think in years past, with the annual meeting, there was obviously some skill test, but there was also some instructing, teaching, and stuff like that. Whether it was a medical, like a veterinarian to come in, or I think one year we had the Rutland State's attorney come in and talk about case law. Do we want something like that, a takeaway, or just basically a brief meeting with stuff like pack track?
I'm thinking the latter, just because I mean I could probably sit down and put something together, and I could probably spend the entire day doing it. Like instead of spending half the day running tracks in the woods and stuff like that. Maybe we just have a meeting. If anybody's got stuff they want to bring up, like people don't even know who's on the canine committee now. There's so much change right now. And then whatever time we got out, if it was a half day, it's a half day. Yeah, I'd rather not bring somebody in and then we have to sit down and listen to them talk for 2 hours and cuts it and we didn't get to cover VPA stuff.
Yeah, we could keep it brief this year and then expand on it in the next couple of years if we want to too. So there's a lot happened in the last couple of years with the standard and stuff. So it might just be worth having it in-house and just the handlers. Everyone agree with that? Is that okay? Yeah. Okay. I think the last portion is just public comment. I don't believe we have any members of the public here. Or if anybody wanted to bring something up.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Just for an awareness is that I know I've mentioned this at committee meetings before and the committee membership has changed over time, but I never got any input from anybody on the Canine Committee or anybody in their supervisory staff about support for a canine trainer position. And I don't know if that's bad communication, no interest, or people are just taxed with work. I mean, it could be any number of things or a combination of things, but I've had it in my budget ask. I've gone through House appropriations, Senate appropriations is coming up this week. None of my budget asks were looked favorably upon. However, this was one of those positions that we advocated a little bit harder for it and did have some support within appropriations. Then I heard over the weekend that I got no additional support in my appropriated asks, but then found out that there was a last minute effort on Sunday evening to ask for a canine trainer position again. And I haven't heard what the end result of that is. So it's not through any lack of efforts or asking on our part here. I've had some conversations with VSP, and there is conversation about VSP rejoining their program with ours here. There's a letter of support that I have from VSP brass that I can submit to legislators to know that they support that process and the staffing and funding of a canine position here. So that's recognizing that they feel it's a value program and worth joining forces. And it would also save them a little bit of money at the same time. So that's just for awareness so that you know where I'm at. But none of that has been through, no offense, but any help through this committee, like I've asked for a couple of times. And some of those people were chiefs and some of those people are no longer on this committee or don't want to be part of the VPA process, which is completely fine. But we have to have advocates outside of just me asking. It's got to be coming from within your community as well and making sure that your agency heads know that this is a need and it's supported, because without that position, it leaves the entire state in an area of flux of what do you do for already existing canine programs? And you can't just say that's it, unless you want to push everybody into something that doesn't really have any way of verifying that the training is legitimate or that anybody's keeping up with it. So that's just for an awareness, just so you know where I'm at right now.
Hey, Chris, do you have anything in writing I can look at what the qualifications are and what exactly you're looking for?
For the position,
Yep.
Lindsay, do you have, well, I don't know if we have a job specific test, because there has not been one. That's one of the problems. It was a training coordinator's position with somebody who did canine most of the time. So I don't know that we have a specific job delineated task, because that would be developed once we had an official position for a canine head trainer. Realistically, what we're looking for is the things that Rich is doing for us contracting. So I'm happy if you have some suggestions to throw my way, that we'll start formulating what that job position might look like, and then hopefully be able to utilize that through HR if and when we get a position for it.
So this isn't like an assistant for Rich. This would be somebody who would eventually just take that position permanently.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Not contracting it as we're doing now, but hiring it as a state position.
Gotcha.
I think as committee members, we could just relay that to the 19 departments or the 19 teams. Obviously, there's some departments that have 4 different canines. And I know there's other departments actually actively looking to be part of the program. I think, you know, when Winooski has, I've heard they have like approval from the select board to hire a canine or 2. So just maybe reaching out as committee members to those departments and just asking for those letter of support for you, Chris, would be nice.
That would be helpful.
Yes. Any other comments? Rich, is there a way to get that April in-service day with the 19 teams to coincide with either evaluator training, or would that be reasonable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd work out good.
Let's see if we can get that to work out where the evaluators are coming down and we're having in-service that day as well. If they just need to stay an extra couple hours, then we can talk about just evaluating stuff. Okay. So I just need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
A second.
All right, guys. Have a good week.
You too.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Yep. Bye.